starting my new job. It's supposed to start at 3, but the person who's training me starts at 12. So I gotta work with her for 2 weeks.
Oh, now where are you gonna be at?
Curtis. So that's close to home.
Where?
Curtis Collins down on Harrison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's why I took
That's the main post office down there.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't call it that anymore. They just
You don't call it that?
They don't call it the main post office, but it is. So it's close to home, and I'll be working what they call 2 or 3.
Well, we'll miss you.
Yeah, just for 2 Sundays.
But the post office benefits.
Hopefully I will too. We'll see. Because I'm changing jobs and it's gonna see.
So you're gonna be working down there?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a 90-day detail, but they might give it to me. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, well, that's a lot shorter of a commute.
Yeah.
You think of what, take the train?
No, I drive over there. It takes me about 10 minutes.
Oh, there's plenty of parking.
Yeah, park underneath. They're parking underneath the building. So.
Yeah, I used to go there quite a bit when I was working downtown.
The one that's over the expressway, you went to that one?
No.
Oh, Curtis. Oh, the new one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the new one has all kinds of stuff. They got all the animals living there. Raccoons. They got birds are just generationally there. You know, they have never known outside. It's a crazy.
Where is this at?
In Curtis. And a lot of these big post buildings like that, we have animals living there. The only thing we haven't seen are deer.
You know,
raccoons are there.
Main post office on Harrison.
It's called Curtis Collins. You know where the big one is that goes over the expressway?
Yeah.
It's right to the south of that. Right?
Oh, okay.
Almost connected.
Yeah, I don't think I ever had any occasion to go there.
Yeah, it has a big window there. You can,
I've been to, I think, the one on Adams. And with that sculpture, whatever that thing is.
Yeah, that's just a regular post office. This is like a plant.
Okay.
But they have a lot of them now. So anyway, I'm learning something different.
Well, we're glad you're here. And I guess some are elsewhere. Michael was around, he'll be in.
Yeah, I saw.
I don't know about Jacob and his family.
Well, Jacob's in the Carolinas.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, his mother, his brother that was sick in France, he came to the States.
The sick in France one day?
No, yeah.
He woke up?
Apparently, yeah, he woke up. But he's in the States, in one of the Carolinas.
Wow.
North Carolina, South Carolina. Gifty just told me. And so Jacob went there to see them.
Well, we miss him, yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get back to where we left off as question 6 on our list of questions for 2 Samuel. And that was about what aspects of sin are revealed in the incidents concerning Bathsheba. And we said that as Satan works it so that sin is progressive. One step leads to another step. You know, as David, he looked, then he pursued, then he tried to cover things up, and then it led to one of the most dramatic events in the Bible, or one of the most dramatic confrontations, and that's in 2 Samuel chapter 12. Nathan rebukes David, and if we've studied it before, we remember that he used a parable, and the parable was about a rich man who had a lot of sheep, but when someone came to visit him, he took the sheep belonging to another person who had just the one little ewe lamb, and a kind of a pitiful story. But David burned with anger when he heard it, and said, "As surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this deserves to die." And then Nathan said to David, "You are the man," or "Thou art the man," as we recall from the King James Version. And he goes on to explain how David could have had all the wives he wanted. I guess, anyway, that was tolerated at that time. But he took the wife of Uriah the Hittite and killed him. And David said, and this is perhaps one of the finer points of David's life, I have sinned against the Lord. We can picture somebody like Saul kind of equivocating, or we can picture some of these other kings that we'll run into later, not having the courage to say, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan replies, the Lord has taken away your sin. You're not going to die. But because by doing this, you have made the enemies of the Lord show utter contempt, the son born to you will die. And previously he said, you're going to have trouble within your family. Anyway, my question is, have you ever had a moment, thou art the man? Have you ever had a you are the man or you are the woman moment? Maybe it's some time someone has pointed out something to you. Maybe not exactly like the confrontation with Nathan, where someone has sat you down and said, you're the one. But maybe you've lived your life and you've realized, I am the one. In other words, you've looked back on a situation and concluded, I didn't handle that right. I didn't say the right thing.
Yeah,
Or
I've had that.
I did something to hurt someone or that could have hurt someone. Or maybe in a situation, it's thou art the man or woman that didn't do something. I've had those. And so, often it's in a situation like David. He's there. What could he do? He couldn't. He could repent in the sense that he wouldn't do it again. But there's not much he could have done to bring Uriah back. It maybe wasn't exactly the generous thing to kick Bathsheba out of the household. And maybe we're like that too, that sense comes to us when it's a little late, and all we can do, like David, is say, I have sinned against the Lord, and trust in the Lord to forgive and to sometimes to mitigate the consequences of that situation. So I just thought of that when I thought of this question. It's kind of a dramatic confrontation, but it's one that we have sometimes with another person, but more often with ourselves. I've done something wrong, and we feel remorse, we pray for forgiveness, but we just have to go on, as David just had to go on. The baby that was born to Bathsheba at this time dies. And we find some famous words. David is mourning, but when the child is dead, he kind of stops. While the child was still living, we spoke to David, but he would not listen to us. How can we tell him the child is dead? He may do something desperate. David noticed that his servants were whispering among themselves, and he realized the child was dead. Is the child dead? He asked. Yes, they replied, he is dead. Then David got up from the ground. After he had washed, put on his clothes, and changed his clothes, he went into the house of the Lord, and he ate. And they said, wow, why are you doing it? Why are you eating after the child died? And they said, when the child was still alive, I fasted and wept. I thought, who knows, the Lord may be gracious and let the child live. But now that he is dead, why should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I will go to him, but he will not return to me. Kind of a far-sighted statement. I will go to him. I wonder, how many people have that degree of faith. So anyway,
Just a little history, maybe extra. How many wives did David have?
I don't know that it tells us, but there were many,
I know.
and concubines. We know of a few: Bathsheba, Abigail, Michael, although she didn't have any children because she
Well,
made
it's a
fun of
wife,
David.
she's a wife.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Yeah, that was a whole nother story.
does that diminish her?
But
Apparently, it kind of did, but that's not.
there's a verse that names some more, and he had concubines. So
Abigail was a good wife, right?
as far as we
She was a
know,
good person.
Well, she had kids for him, that's all you had to do.
Who are her kids? Who are her kids?
we don't know.
Oh,
We don't know who the mother of Amnon was, of Absalom.
Did we know the mother in?
Do we that? Maybe,
No, I'm thinking about
Amnon's
Absalom,
son,
I'm thinking of
David.
Absalom.
yeah. But that's the point of that is, in his family life, there was conflict. It's hard to think of anybody in the Bible who had more than one wife where it was a peaceful and happy situation. So anyway, I just thought I'd elaborate on that question about sin.
When I was a new believer and I was reading Genesis, I said to for the first time, I said to campus minister, Don Wooders, at the time in Southern Illinois, Carbondale, I said, wow, these guys are sexual dynamos. He goes, yeah, but look at all the trouble that they got into.
Yeah,
Okay, because, of the polygamy.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. Jacob has trouble. Solomon has trouble. Even in more peaceful situations, the husband of Hannah, and there's trouble between Hannah.
Abraham went to surrogacy with,
Yeah.
Hagar. With Hagar, and thus brought out Ishmael.
But look, Adam and Eve did too, they had trouble,
Yeah,
so
that's
we
true.
just have one.
Anyway, we'll go on, but that's the nature of sin. I just also wanted to mention in connection with this question, as sin is a progressive thing, Satan will get us deeper and deeper. And even if we repent, one of the more difficult things is to rebuild conscience. Because at one point, even the hint of wrongdoing will trouble us. But as Satan draws us in, it doesn't bother us anymore. Maybe you've seen that, even as you look at the media, at television, read books, at first, maybe sex and violence are troubling, but if you watch it a lot, you get used to it and it doesn't bother you anymore. And you begin to think, this doesn't bother me. It's hard to build up conscience again, so that it does, whatever the temptation might be, to look at bad stuff or to speak in a certain way, just maybe use some words that we shouldn't. It's hard to rebuild that conscience, that which bothers us when we do these things. So anyway, it can be done, with the help of God. It can be done.
What's the end?
Conscience. We can rebuild a seared and broken conscience, but it takes a lot of effort and discipline. Conscience is there to bother us, and if we break it down, it's hard to rebuild it. So that anyway, so that we're as sensitive to sin as we may once have been. So
I think about when I give orientations, well, I'm not old enough. They have a segment on ethics, and they always say, don't let unethical thinking lead to unethical actions.
okay,
It starts with the thinking, the thinking about it. And I think about that with Cain, when God told Cain, you know, before he did it, he knew it was on his mind. You know, when it's on your mind, that's when you can change it before something worse happens.
yeah, that's almost a biblical quote, because Jesus says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh, their actions. It's what we think within us that leads to the things we say and do. So they're almost getting biblical.
Yeah, I know the federal government is a lot of biblical stuff in there, you know,
That
but
was
we
your-
need it.
That's your job training stuff there?
I'm sorry, what?
That was in the job training stuff you're giving?
Yeah, it's a whole big segment on ethics for the federal government. And I think what you're gonna see out there might be different, but at least now you know what it should be. So, we don't know how they're gonna act.
You wonder how many of them actually have ever gone through it or taken it to heart.
Well, I said this, it also keeps you out of jail. So there you go. That's motivation.
I wonder.
Anyway, in the book of
Yeah.
2 Samuel, I guess this was a crisis of Bathsheba. And then the other crisis in the book, or one of the big crises, is the rebellion of Absalom, who is David's son. So when Nathan said, you're going to have trouble with your family, I'm sure David didn't foresee that he was going to be running away from his son for a period of time, and his son would be leading a rebellion against him. And that's what the next couple of questions relate to. What kind of person was Amnon? Who in the world was Amnon?
Amnon was another son of David,
Yeah.
I'm assuming by a different mother.
Yeah.
You assume so.
And he fell in love with his,
That wasn't love.
actually with Absalom's sister, although I think it was actually lust
Sister.
That's all.
rather than actual love.
That's
It
right.
was
Absalom's sister?
Yes.
Yes.
Tamar was Absalom's sister.
Mhm.
And then, so he eventually raped Tamar and then
And kicked
refused
her out of
to
the house.
have anything to do with her, and Absalom nursed resentment against Amnon and eventually killed him.
Yeah. So Amnon is kind of a weak person. He's pining about for Tamar, and this other guy tells him, here's how to get her. You know, you trick her to come in. You say you pretend you're ill, and you tell that you want her to feed you. So that's how he gets her in the room, and then he rapes her. And but then immediately after that, he despises her. And I guess we see that sometimes. And you know, he thinks this is what he wants, but then maybe I don't know, because she gives way or what. You hear of that sometimes. That not love, but lust turns to hate, I guess. Anyway, then Absalom arranges a feast and invites Amnon and kills him. And their initial reports are that he's killed all the brothers, which was the normal way that they operated in a case of a rebellion. You'd kill all of the potential claimants to the throne, but that wasn't the case. But Absalom, we asked, what kind of a person was Absalom?
good looking.
He's, yeah, he was told that he's had a
Long, beautiful hair.
Yeah, he had to get it cut every year, it was so much.
But he said it called beautiful in chapter 14. But he's a selfish guy. He's a
Yeah.
violent guy.
Mhm.
He's a vindictive guy.
Yeah,
He kills Amnon. He's a canny guy. In other words, he wants the kingdom then. And so he sets up and says, you know, if I was king, I would help you out. But David, he won't do it. He's too busy and so on and so forth. And eventually he builds up enough support to lead a rebellion against his father, David. But his David is still has merciful feeling toward him. Anyway, conspiratorial, just plotted. Anyway, he uses Joab to help plot getting back in David's good graces. Joab, we'll ask a question about him later, but he's quite a character also. Anyway, he was the chief general. Anyway, why were David's forces able to defeat Absalom's forces? Well, we might say the blessings of God, but how is it described in the scriptures? There's some spying and other things at work. David, some of his advisors stay around and are working for Absalom. And Ahithophel, one of the advisors, says, you've got to strike now. While David's leaving town, strike immediately. But then another fellow who's really on David's side, named Hushai, says, give David, take some more time, Absalom. Raise an army from all of Israel, and then go after David. David's men are, brave and courageous. If you just strike immediately, you might not be successful. And so it turns out that the counsel of Hushai is not good, but it is the counsel that Absalom follows. So he delays going after David until David gets actually east of the Jordan, has time to reorganize his forces and have a strategy. Ahithophel, after his counsel is rejected, is a little discouraged, so he commits suicide.
not a little discouraging.
So anyway, conspiratorial and spies are also in the scriptures. And then David is able to overcome Absalom. So here's our question about Joab. Oh, what part did Joab play in the history of Israel? Joab is a nephew of David. He's the son of David's sister, whose name is Zeruiah. And so he has two brothers, one of which gets killed, but Joab becomes the general. Was
he one of the 30 mighty men?
He's not named, we'll get to that, because he's the boss. And he's a relative. So anyway, he's the one that, he's a violent man. He's the one that kills Abner.
Yeah.
And it helps Saul, it helps David overcome Ishbosheth by killing Amnon.
That was really low down.
Abner.
He was
Okay.
really low down.
He seems to have had quite a military prowess. In connection with Absalom, what happens? David's instructions to his troops were be gentle with Absalom, take him alive, in other words. But Absalom with his long hair, gets
Yeah.
stuck in a tree. His hair's so long, he gets stuck in a tree, hanging there. And Joab comes along and throws some darts at him and does him in. So he disobeys orders.
He's on a horse, right?
Absalom. I think the horse, the impression we get is the horse keeps going and Absalom is stuck in the tree.
Oh, it must have hurt.
Well,
You know, all
hanging
that
there
weight
by
on
his
your
hair.
hair.
that's right. Anyway, Absalom is killed by Joab, and he murders Absalom's commander also. So he's kind of a vicious fellow, but is in many ways is an effective military leader.
Wait, who runs him through?
What's
Joab? Who ran him through? Absalom, he's caught on the tree.
Joab throws 3 darts at him. Then if he's
Said
not
that
dead, then they
some
can-
of Joab's armor bearers all
Yeah.
yeah,
They
then they
also-
kind of swim.
struck him.
So anyway, it's a violent time, and David relies on Joab. We'll find that he doesn't survive the death of David very long because Solomon doesn't like a man of violence.
But David said to kill him too. Remember David told Solomon? to
That's
kill him?
right, and one of his
Yeah.
last wishes,
Mhm.
get Joab.
You gotta get rid of him.
And he does. I think Joab is the one that's goes into the temple and is on the horns of the altar. And then Solomon's general, whose name is Benaiah, comes and slays him. He comes back and says he's asking for mercy, holding on to the horns of the altar. And Solomon says, do him in anyway. Anyway, that's Joab,
Yeah.
a man of interest. What was David's reaction to the death of Absalom?
He was very upset and said that he wishes that he had died
Yeah,
instead of Absalom.
David is a man of great sensitivity. He's mourning so much that Joab comes to him and says, you better go out and congratulate the troops because they've been fighting for you. And then so David does that eventually.
Yeah.
But his initial reaction is mourning for his son. So in the midst of all of this violence, we sometimes see a picture like that of sensitivity and mercy. And David was such a man. Maybe that's why he was a man after God's own heart. That's the purpose of some of
Even though he's a
his-
man of war.
He's certainly a man of war,
Mhm.
and but he's a man of mercy also. He doesn't let it go to his head. We've said power corrupts. We've seen power corrupt Saul. Does power corrupt David?
I think just in the case of Bathsheba,
Yeah.
that's the only
Yeah.
time I can kind of see it. He didn't have to, first of all, stay home. And once he found out that she was somebody's wife that was really working hard for him, he didn't care.
Yeah.
So that was,
So he's not perfect, but politically he's seemingly not corrupted.
yeah.
But he fights the opposing or the surrounding nations on behalf of God because they're not God that don't follow Jehovah. Anyway, that gets us pretty close to the end of 2 Samuel. What sin led to a pestilence upon Israel? This is chapter 24, which is, I think that's the last chapter, but there's a lot of stuff in there.
David decided to count the people.
Yeah, it's worded in a strange way. Again, the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, And he incited David against them, saying, "Go and take a census of Israel and Judah." We take census, what, every 5 years?
10 years.
I know it's every 10. I thought they did something. Anyway, we take census. Is that bad?
But we don't do it for military reasons, I don't think.
Okay.
We do it for political reasons.
Yeah, here they're trying to find out how many men are of military age. What could possibly be wrong with that?
You trusted in people, you trusted in your numbers.
We're
instead of
trusting
God.
God.
They
Yeah.
should have just trusted in God. Once you find out how many people you've got, you kind of trust in numbers. God never wanted them to do that. Remember Gideon?
Yeah,
He had to get the army down from 30,000 to 300 so that it would be clear that the victory was won, not because of superior military force, but because of God. And I guess,
Was it 22,000 down to 300? Is that
what did they originally had, what, 32,000?
32,000?
And 22,000 were afraid and went home. And then there were 10,000 left, and now those 300 drank water in the way.
well, what was the thing with the water? You drink with your hand or you put your face in the water? Which one was the right way, that for the 300?
That's been speculation. Some people think that, that you were supposed to keep a hold of your weapon and just go down, drink directly out of the water, rather than putting your weapons down and using your hand.
Oh, okay.
But that's just speculation,
I never
that the
understood.
300 were better prepared for battle.
Yeah.
But who knows? It's a little ambiguous exactly. But
120,000, Eddie? How many was it?
well, there were 120,000 killed, and then there were 12,000 more. So that there was at least 132,000 to begin with. And you'd think, well, even if they'd gone in with the 30,000, that they would have seen that the victory was God, but they could have said, "Oh, a 4-1, we were able to beat 4-1 odds because of our bravery and the superior courage." And we could talk about how that attitude pervaded in World War II, but anyway. So finally, Joab is against it. And David says, "Go do it anyway." And so they find out what's the result. In Numbers, let's see. They came back to Jerusalem. Joab, in verse 9, 24:9, Joab reported the number of the fighting men to the king. In Israel, there were 800,000 able-bodied men who could handle a sword, and in Judah, 500,000. So does that surprise you in any way?
With the numbers?
The numbers. If you kind of extrapolate that, what does that suggest is the population?
A few million.
Oh,
A few million, yeah.
2 to 3 million, right about the population of the city of Chicago. We could probably drum up 1.3 million men of military age. Like they had expanded like age 20 to 50 or so. Anyway, but it surprises me a little that the numbers are so close. Because don't forget, the nation of Israel is supposed to be 10 tribes, and the nation of Judah is supposed to be 2 tribes. But what happened? Well, the people have been kind of, we'll see later, they moved to Judah. But anyway, we'll see. There's some numbers quoted in First Kings, which we'll run into also. People raising armies. Anyway, it's kind of interesting because we don't really get too much information about how many Israelites were there? You know, just a couple million, like you say, 2-3 million. Anyway, what? So that was the census.
So tell me about the pestilence again.
What's that?
So the pestilence.
Oh, the Lord then, David says, verse 10, David was conscience stricken after he had counted the fighting men. And he said to the Lord, I have sinned. Here, just like he said in connection with Bathsheba, I have sinned. Now, O Lord, I beg you, take away the guilt of your servant. I've done a very foolish thing. Before David got up the next morning, the word of the Lord had come to Gad, the prophet, David's seer. Go and tell David, this is what the Lord says. I'm giving you 3 choices, 3 options. Choose one. And what are they? 3 years of famine, 3 months of fleeing from your enemies, or 3 days of plague in your land. Now then, think it over and decide, what would you pick?
I think what David picked, because he was hoping, since it's in the hands of God, maybe he'll.
Yeah. But David, yeah.
3 days of anything sounds more palatable.
It does
3
sound.
years or 3 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are long. David says, he doesn't want to make a choice. I'm in deep distress. Let us fall into the hands of the Lord, for his mercy is great. But do not let me fall into the hands of men. So the Lord sent a plague on Israel from that morning until the end of the time designated. And 70,000 of the people from Dan to Beersheba died. When the angel stretched out his hand to destroy Jerusalem, the Lord was grieved because of the calamity and said to the angel who was afflicting the people, enough, withdraw your hand. The angel of the Lord was then at the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. And
So
when David saw, he says, I'm the one who has sinned. These are but sheep.
So they were struck. We don't know how.
Right. But again, something is going on that we're not fully informed about, because what are they guilty of?
Yeah.
Must have been idolatry going on. And the Lord is kind of clearing out 70,000. Remember, there's, a couple million. That's a significant number. There's more to it. We'd like to know what they were guilty of, and so on.
Maybe it's better we don't know.
Maybe so.
They were guilty of some very grievous sins.
Yeah.
At times, killing, sacrificing babies to idols. Oh, come on. They did that.
Yeah. I would just suspect that it was idolatry. That seemed to be the thing that offended the Lord the most. So anyway, it's a kind of a sordid tale. But again, David is repentant. And it leads to what? On that day, Gad went to David and said to him, go up and build an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Araunah, where the angel of destruction stopped. So David went up as the Lord had commanded. And when Araunah saw the king and his men coming, he went out and bowed down before the king with his face to the ground. Araunah said, why has my lord the king come to his servant? To buy your threshing floor, David answered, so I could build an altar to the Lord, that the plague on the people may be stopped. And Araunah said to David, let my lord the king take whatever he pleases. So what would have been the natural response? Okay, if you want to donate it.
Yeah.
But David replies, no, I insist on paying you for it. I will not sacrifice to the Lord my God burnt offerings that cost me nothing. And that's one of the examples of David's sensitivity The Lord is very displeased when people offer crippled and sick animals to him. That they're, I can't use them anyway. I'll just give those to the Lord.
He doesn't want the leftovers.
The Lord wants our best.
Can't give him the leftovers.
Can't give him the leftovers.
People tend to do them.
And we're subject to that temptation too, as far as contributing to the work of the Lord, not just monetarily, but, you know, in the ways we use our time. You know, well, if I have any time left over, I'll maybe do something for the church. But so that's a lesson. And I've heard sermons on it. I'm sure you have too, but there it is.
On the giving.
David bought the threshing floor and the oxen and paid 50 shekels and built an altar. We're over that time. So that maybe that's an answer to question 14. In what ways was David a man after God's own heart? He asked God if he should assume the kingship. He was a sensitive man, a forgiving man, a worshipful man. And when we get to question 1 of 1 Kings about, is the kingdom stronger in a religious sense after David's reign?
Definitely.
I would say definitely. And yet 70,000 of them had to be gotten out of the way at the end of David's reign.
Even after all the bloodshed.
Yeah.
They kept fighting, pushing their enemies out, killing them.
Yeah, he was very
It had to be
successful.
done. It had to be done.
Defeating the Philistines, defeating the Ammonites, and so on. Well, any other?
Well, Wayne was just asking, how many children did David have? How many are named?
Well, not too many.
That's it.
Amnon, Absalom, Solomon,
Tamar's only daughter.
Tamar.
Adonijah, so at least 5.
Yeah, we're not, but by any means, we're not told of all of the children of David. There must have been a lot of them.
There's a verse when he conquers Jerusalem.
Oh, okay.
It says, so 2 Samuel 5, verse 14. Well, it says, after he left Hebron, David took more concubines and wives in Jerusalem, and more sons and daughters were born to him. These are the names of the children born to him there: Shammua, Shobab, Nathan, Solomon, Ibhar, Elishua, Nepheg, Japhia, Elishama, Eliada, and Eliphalet.
That's 11. Okay.
And then that doesn't include Absalom, Tamar, Adonijah, and now there's another one Amnon. Yeah, so he had a lot of
Those
children.
were born to him there.
Yeah.
Right.
Implication, there's others born in other
I believe
places.
in procreation.
Yeah.
And you know, there are groups of people today that are deliberately having children so they can strengthen their group, so they can press against their enemies over the Middle East.
Yeah.
That's a philosophy. I think it was in Gaza. Yeah, that's one of the.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I have so many people over there, because they know they're going to be fighting against Israel and other people. So that's one way they can defend themselves, by having a lot of children and population.
that's right.
You know, that still goes on today. Nothing new.
Yeah, you know, the birth rate in the United States is down, and some people panic. Well, it's going to be a nation of old people. There's nothing wrong with old people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, I want to conclude with the extra credit. Where is snow mentioned in the second book of Samuel?
Oh.
It's the only place in the Bible. What place?
No, it's not the only place.
It's mentioned many places, but
You like it.
this is in chapter 23. And we kind of passed over this. It's a list of David's mighty men, starting in verse 8. There's 30 in this club of special soldiers. There's 3 leaders, and one of them is a man by the name of Benaiah. And that's where we read. Let's see. David. At that time, David. Let's see. Yes, oh, verse 20, I'm sorry. It's in the Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was a valiant fighter from Kabzeel, who
Oh,
performed great exploits. He struck down 2 of Moab's best men. He also went down into a pit on a snowy day and killed a lion. And he also struck a huge Egyptian. The word snow is used in the Bible quite a few times metaphorically. Your sins are white, white as snow, and so on. And there's description of the snow on Mount Hermon, which is the highest peak around there. But this is the only reference I know of actual snow. And Benaiah was one of the 3 top of the 30. He became Solomon's chief general and was used to slay Joab and kind of organize the army for Solomon. So these are, we can read about them. And then in verse 39, Uriah the Hittite, that's the guy. He must have been known to David. He's one of the mighty men. And they list the 30, and then there was these others. Benaiah was held in greater honor than any of the 30. Anyway. I was trying to think. One place there was a mighty man who killed a guy with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. But we see that once in a while, right?
yeah, the lion.
Anyway, that's 2 Samuel. We move on to 1 Kings, or in the alternative, it's sometimes referred to as 3 Kings because it's the 3rd book about a king. About king. And some other kings. You see.
You guys want one back there for next week?
Read the book of 1 Kings. It's not that
Fill it in.
long.
Yeah, you'll be on top of everything.
A lot of action.
Kings is the answer to the question. Why did the exile happen?
Why did what?
Why did the exile happen? That's what Kings is.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
both books.
Yeah. That's what we had that question. What is the result of the exile ultimately?
And so, there's an emphasis on kings who delayed. There's an emphasis on kings who sped it, sped it up.
Yes, that's right. That's. So thank you for your attention.
I try and keep up with the class, even though I'm in the class.
And good luck at your training.
Yeah, I hope it'll be-
When do you read?